summarize his work, his life, and his contribution to Indian science. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to discuss what is paleobotany. Paleobotany is the study of ancient fossils, plant fossils, therefore the word botany. And I myself did my graduation in BSc Botany. So, this, while preparing the presentation and doing the literature research, it took me back to my graduation years also. And it was like a nostalgia visiting again those terminologies and those images, those research papers. So, it was nostalgic for me as well. Paleobotany is the study of ancient plant fossils, which provide crucial insight. They help us unlock the secrets about Earth's ancient environments, revealing how the ecosystems have evolved over the millions of years. By studying these fossilized plants, we can understand the past climates that existed on our planet, how and what were the major extinction events, and even the effects of the tectonic shifts. And we are using this study of paleobotany to study the climate changes that will occur or are actually occurring now. So it is the study of the past that is helping us stabilize our present and have some predictions about the future as well. Now, why is paleobotany important? There are certain parameters. First, important is that it helps us understanding the ancient climates that prevailed on our planet. It has helped the scientists to reconstruct the past climates and the conditions which prevailed by studying the fossils. As we all know, we all teach biology. So, by studying the fossils, we are able to analyze what type of habitat existed when that particular organism was alive. So, it helps studying the similarly as we did for animal fossils. So, plant fossils also they help us study and reconstruct the past climates, the environmental conditions that prevailed, and they are serving like markers or indicators of historic temperatures, rainfall, atmospheric composition, and every other abiotic component that prevailed during that time. And this information is very much crucial to understand how the climate has actually evolved over the years. What type of climate existed millions of years ago, how it has reached to the climate that we all live in today. The second important parameter of paleobotany is it helps to reveal the evolutionary history. Now, when we are studying the fossilized plants, the scientists, the paleobotanists, they are able to trace the evolutionary relationship and the history of different plants because plants that are fossilized in a particular area might be related in terms of habitat, in terms of their taxonomic classification, so it helps to identify the evolutionary history of those plants, how these species had adapted in that ancient time period, and how they have evolved in response to the environmental conditions that were prevailing at that particular time. All this understanding of evolutionary history of those plants helps us and also help the paleobotanists during their time to understand the biodiversity that existed in that particular time zone, what was the kind of species that were present, the resilience of plants, how they had adapted, and how the ancient plants have evolved, and the origins of the modern flora that we see today. Next important significance of paleobotany is supporting the geological studies. Fossilized plants that were found in a specific rock formation also helped the geologists to date the layers, the geological layers. And it was very much significant in reconstructing the geological time scale, understanding the tectonic plates, their movement. So, paleobotany is not just about fossilized plants, it is combining the field of geology, and it is crucial to support lot of geological theories like I'm sure when we were in school, we had studied about Pangea land, Gondwana land. So, continental drifts, how they happen during tectonic plate movement, how the flora and the fauna as well has been scattered over the different continents as we know today. So, this continental drift theory, the concept of supercontinent, the Gondwana land, along with Pangaea also, how it existed earlier. Another important significance or another point of importance that paleobotany serves is contributing to the climate change models. So, as we are studying the fossilized plants, we are getting the insights to the ecosystems that prevailed in the past, what kind of climate was there, how the climate has shifted. Even we understand the climatic changes today. Now it's already 14th November and still the winter is coming in bits and pieces. So climate change is happening as of today as well. So in ancient past, when those fossilized plants, when they were existing, how the ecosystem had responded to the sudden changes or the changes that were accumulated over time. And this is helping to predict how the species that we are seeing today and how the ecosystems that we are living in, how they have responded to, and how this modern climate change is proceeding. So the study of the past is crucial to understand the current climate change also. And this knowledge, it gives a lot of conservation strategies. It helps to make informed decision about the climate adaptation if efforts also. Another important point is guiding natural resource exploration. The paleobotanical data, it can also help to locate natural resources because fossils say he natural resources, coal, oil, gas can be made. So it will help in locating those natural resources also. And ancient plant remains which have been formed in specific conditions will also indicate the hotspot areas where a particular resource might be found. Therefore, all these points are making paleobotany a very valuable field to the industries that are actually focused towards energy and resource extraction. So, we had talked about all the significance of paleobotany. I would like to gather your interest towards the importance of paleobotany in our country, India. In India, paleobotany has a very unique significance because of the presence of ancient geological formation such as the Deccan Traps. I have attached an image here. The second image, the green shaded areas, they are the Deccan Traps, and there are peninsular basins of Gondwana land also. So these are the regions where abundant fossils were found. So paleobotany was important in Indian context as well. And research in these areas has provided insights to India's prehistoric flora and the environmental conditions that prevailed, therefore contributing towards the overall knowledge of plant evolution. Next section of my presentation is about early life and education of Dr. Birbal Sahni. Now, Birbal Sahni was born on 14th November 1891 in Pakistan, as Sir has already discussed with us. His family, actually, it was the environment in his family that was intellectual, which made his interest in the field of science at the younger years of his life. So, his family had already fostered an atmosphere of learning, of curiosity, and his father, Sri Ruchiram Sahni, was a professor and a scientist himself. So, this intellectual environment was very much crucial in cultivating Birbal Sahni's early interest in science and in exploration. As he proceeded towards his formal education, Sahni did the academic coursework from Government College, which is now in Lahore, where because he was interested in the subject, so his academic excellence was seen during his earlier years with a profound interest in botany and geology. And his time in Lahore was actually the beginning of his formal education in science, which later led the stage for his achievements in paleobotany. As he continued his research work, he did his further studies from Cambridge Universities and was a fellow under the renowned botanist Sir Albert Seward. And it was this international exposure that was given to him by his uh, mentor, which helped him advance his knowledge of paleobotany And also, he was able to come in touch with the latest research techniques, latest ideas, which later he brought back to our country. Also, his PhD and the mentorship of Sir Albert Seward were really significant to guide him in the field of paleobotany. And his time at Cambridge was very much important in building in the entire work that he did later on when he came back to India. His research approach was combined with careful observation of theoretical analysis that he did. And this was again an influence of his mentor, Sir Albert Seward, and his exposure to the teachings that his mentor gave. Sahni's method was shaped. They became more uh, one of the most foremost thinker in the field of plant fossil research. Now, as we move on, the next section would deal with the major contributions of Dr. Birbal Sahni, FRS. One of the most significant contribution that he did was founding the Birbal Sahni Institute of Paleosciences. This is the image of the institute, and I would just like to state a few facts. So it was in the year 1946 that Sahni established the Birbal Sahni Institute of Paleosciences in Lucknow in India. It was his vision that he wanted to create an institution dedicated particularly to fossil research, where the scientists of his field, of his like interest, could actually study plant fossils and could contribute significantly to India's geological history. Being a Cambridge fellow, he could have stayed there and continued his research, but he came back to India. He established an institute solely dedicated to paleosciences so that whatever research work he learned, his fellows knew, he could put it back to use in his own country. And today, Birbal Sahni Institute of Paleosciences is one of the leading research center, and it offers a lot of scholarships to students as well who are interested in the field of paleobotany or paleosciences or geology as well. So the foundation and vision of the institute, BSIP, in Lucknow marked a pivotal role for Indian science. He envisioned a premier research institution that was focused solely on plant fossils, aimed at nurturing the upcoming scientists, because several scholarships were also launched to motivate the students at that time so that they could come and do their research and learn about the flora of India, the prehistoric flora of India, and help in preserving India's geological and biological legacy. So BSIP is again, as I already said, it is still a prominent research institute and has advancing fields such as climate modeling. In today's scenario, climate change is like black gold. We have to, the sooner we acknowledge the importance of studying climate change, sooner we'll be able to devise methods and strategies to combat it. So this advanced field of climate modeling is already being researched upon in BSIP, biodiversity and geology. The researchers at BSIP, they are continuing Sahni's legacy by analyzing the fossils across India and collaborating globally to deepen the insights about Earth's ancient environment. Also, there are several international collaborations also with other research institutes which are at the end promoting scientific exchange and collaboration. So apart from BSIP, there are some other significant contributions as well. So if I talk about the contribution to Indian paleobotany, his contributions are extensive. He had studied plant fossils across India, especially in Gondwana region, providing the insights to the ancient flora that existed in India. And this research work done by Birbal Sahni has bridged the gap between paleobotany and geology. So they are not two separate fields. This is an amalgamation, union of two different fields, which together are offering evidences of India's prehistoric climates and plant evolution. Whatever climate we see today, whatever plant species we see today, how and when they have evolved to become the modern flora. There are several research papers, about 200 publications are to his name. I have put a separate section about his research work, so I will take up this part after maybe 5-10 minutes. And he also did several plant fossil studies. So his research on plant fossils included studies on various ancient groups such as Glossopteris and Tylophilum. And these fossils, they were very critical about plant evolution and ecological conditions, and they revealed how these plants have adapted to the prehistoric climates, because prehistoric climate were they were harsher, they were more extensive. So how the plants were evolved during that time, a detailed study was done by Birbal Sahni during his time. And also, a significant portion of his work was majorly on Gondwana flora research, a term that is used to refer the ancient plant life in the Gondwana supercontinent. His research area, when he was undergoing the research about the flora in the Gondwana region, it revealed several details about the migration of plant species, how the plant species had migrated, and the ancient climate. And these factors altogether gave a new dimension to the paleobotanical knowledge. Now, as I already said, that Dr. Birbal Sahni had published over 200 scientific papers during his career, contributing significantly to the field of paleobotany, and particularly through his studies on plant fossils. His work had laid foundation of many future researches in paleobotany, geology, and evolutionary biology. I have mentioned here top 5 research works that are published. I'll just go through them. So, these 5 research papers, one of them was on Glossopteris, which discusses this plant group and its significant role in understanding the geological history and paleoclimate of the Gondwana region. It provided critical evidence for the theory of continental drift. Again, a very crucial aspect of geology and geological timescale, along with paleosciences. The second important and most researched paper of Dr. Birbal Sahni was on the fossil flora of the Deccan traps that I had mentioned. It was in the year 1940. He studied the fossilized plant life of the Deccan region, contributing his valuable insights into the Cretaceous flora period and the environmental condition of ancient India. Those who, all of us, we teach class 12, show, I would like to just take you to this NCRT image that we often use in evolution chapter. So as we already know the time of appearance of certain plant species or group of plants that are in the geological time scale. So studies like these are possible only due to the research work of paleobotanists. So Birbal Sahni did multiple works in the field of paleobotany, which has enabled us to establish relationship between the existence of different plant species in the prehistoric time and the modern flora. Another important paleobotany paper was on the Upper Gondwana region in 1936, where he explored fossilized plant life, offering crucial insight to the flora in India during the late Paleozoic eras. Another important one was on the Gondwana flora in India. Again, he examined the ancient flora and the implications for global paleogeography in the Gondwana supercontinent. And as the Rajmahal Hills sir mentioned, one of the most research paper of Dr. Birbal Sahni is on the fossil flora of the Rajmahal Hills, where he focused his works on the Rajmahal Hills plant fossils, providing important data on the Cretaceous flora of India and offering significant evidence for stratigraphy of the region, how the region is strategized in terms of the occurrence of plant species. Now, I would like to now discuss the research impact, and we'll talk about his impact of the research in evolutionary biology, geology. What were the key discoveries? What were their implications? What was his role in the fossil studies, although we have already done, but the crux of it, and how his research is impacting the Indian sciences. So first, I would like to talk about his impact on the evolutionary biology. Dr. Birbal Sahni's finding they have contributed significantly to the evolutionary biology by providing fossil evidence that showed that how plants had adapted and how they have evolved over millions of years. And his research also helped to study the ancient structures and their environmental adaptation. Now, when we are studying the adaptation patterns, so we were able to now acknowledge the plant evolution, migration, diversification, particularly in Indian ecosystem context. What ancient ecosystems in India existed and how the parameters of migration, diversification, plant evolution was significant then. Next important impact was on geology. The paleobotanical work done by Dr. Birbal Sahni had a profound impact and it helped to understand the geological history of Indian subcontinent. So I would like to stress this fact that Dr. Sahni's work was majorly and mostly evolved and it developed around the Indian subcontinent. His research in paleosciences, his research in understanding the geological timescale of India, how the Indian ecosystems existed during the ancient time, all his research was crucial for India. Therefore, he was a prominent figure, a distinguished scientist in Indian science as well. He was a crusader in developing policies for Indian science and promoting science and technology and scientific bent of mind during that time, because we are talking about 1891 and he died at the age of 57 around 1948 or 49, 2 years after independence. So during those years, as it is, resources were lesser, were not that easily available, and he made it a point to make all his work, all his research on India, related to India, so that the future generations could benefit. So he also helped in identification of unique fossils in certain geological formations. And this again helped to classify the rock strata, how the rocks are in the layers. And again, very crucial in the study of continental drift theory, which we all have studied during our school time, the Pangaea and the Gondwana land, how they drifted and how they have formed the seven continents that we know today. So, another important impact of Birbal Sahni's work was on fossil study. He was the first, one of the first to introduce innovative methods to study fossils. His techniques integrated microscopic analysis along with field work. Field work was earlier also a part of paleosciences, but he introduced the microscopic studies of the fossils that were discovered. And these method, they, because it is doing microscopic analysis of the fossils that are extracted, so these methods, they enabled precise identification and examination of plant fossils. And this was crucial in setting new research standards in paleobotany that are still of use of very much importance today as well. So, at the end, what was the impact of his work on Indian science? His research contributions, they helped in promoting science in India by advocating research-oriented policies for science. And this will, at the end, helped in developing a scientific community. Further, his collaborations with other scientists also encouraged research, education, and broader appreciation of natural history, leaving a lasting impact across scientific fields. I would now like to move on to awards and recognitions that were conferred to Dr. Birbal Sahni. So, he has left a plethora of legacy. tried to divide it into separate sections. So first, I would like to talk about National Award and Honors. Birbal Sahni was awarded several awards, so there was a long list. I have tried to accommodate all major ones. The highest one being Padma Bhushan in 1954. Although this award was awarded posthumously when he died, he received this prestigious Indian Civilian Award in recognition of his pioneering contributions to paleobotany and geology. Another important accolade that he was given was FRS title that I mentioned in the starting of my presentation, Fellow of the Royal Society, FRS, in 1936. He was elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society of London, one of the highest honors for the scientists still today as well, for his significant research on plant fossils and geological history. He was also given Fellowship of Indian National Science Academy, briefed as INSA. He was one of the founding fellows of the Indian National Science Academy, acknowledging his influence in Indian science and efforts to establish scientific societies. Another important accolade was Sir C.R. Reddy National Prize in Science in 1945. He was awarded this prize by Government of Andhra Pradesh in recognition of his contributions to scientific research and education in India. He was given honorary membership in many international scientific societies across various prestigious organizations worldwide, reflecting his international reputation in paleobotany as a paleobotanist. He was a member of the Linnean Society and Geological Society, among the others. And another, lastly, he was also given an honorary doctorate from University of Calcutta. So he was honored DSc by University of Calcutta in recognition of his contributions to paleobotany and his impact on Indian science. Just a second, I think my presentation has froze. Okay. Now, if I talk about the global recognition, this was all about the national awards and some international mentions. Global recognition as well. He was widely recognized outside India as well. As I've mentioned, there were multiple memberships and honorary positions in scientific societies that he was given. His work was still was celebrated and still is highly acknowledged, solidifying his reputation as a leading figure in paleobotany and botany at large. When I talk about his impact on students and peers, his dedication to mentoring has inspired many students who have become prominent scientists. His guidance emphasized on curiosity, on critical thinking, on dedication to scientific truth, and traits that influenced student careers and expanded the reach of his legacy. If we talk about the continued relevance of his research, again, his work is still relevant to paleobotany, geology, and climate sciences, and his findings have contributed to current discussions about biodiversity, climate change, conservation, and providing the enduring value of his research work. He also co-founded several research societies, including the Indian Botanical Society, which had many collaborations with many scientists across the world and promoted scientific research. And it was his role in these different societies, his honorary mention, his awards, his accolades that helped in strengthening India's scientific community. Then, as I mentioned, that he had a very strong influence on Indian scientific policy as well, and he advocated for research policies that supported scientific innovation and accessibility to promote that scientific bent of mind and to make research more palpable. He believed in creating structures that would allow future scientists to build upon his work, helping to shape India's scientific landscape. So he was a crusader in many ways. He was pioneer in Indian research in paleobotany, and he made sure that he is creating avenues for future researchers and scientists as well. So, these are some broad headers in which I would like to reflect upon the relevance of his work in today's scenario. As I've already mentioned multiple times, that climate change and trends, how the climate changed over these years and what trends are expected in future. His research on the ancient plant life has helped scientists to model the past climate changes, providing valuable data for understanding climate change trends and predicting the future shifts that could be expected in that particular area. Also, his studies are crucial towards biodiversity conservation. His studies on plant evolution and ecosystem offered a deeper understanding of plant resilience, how the plant has adapted to that particular environment, aiding the efforts to conserve the endangered species and protect the ecosystem in the face of global environmental challenges that we are facing. Another important relevance of Birbal Sahni's work is geological and resource exploration. His work on plant fossils has application in identify valuable natural resources like coal and oil, influencing modern geological studies and exploring these resources. Now, again, when I was making this presentation, I was not able to get multiple images because this is long back. So this one of the busts of Birbal Sahni is also instituted in front of the institute. And his life and legacy, this is the ending section of my presentation. Sani's life and legacy continue to inspire scientists in the field of paleobotany, geology, and beyond. So I have just made this brief summary of the presentation, that what all parameters we have covered. We all know that he was the pioneer of Indian paleobotany. He was known as the father of Indian paleobotany, and his work he was among the first to study plant fossils in India, laying the groundwork for future research on India's ancient flora and geological history. His family influence was very much acknowledged because it helped in creating a rich intellectual environment that sparked his early interest in science and exploration. His membership under Sir Albert Seward was again instrumental in sparking his interest in paleobotany and methods of paleobotany, research methods. He was founder of Birbal Sahni Institute of Paleosciences. He was recipient of Padma Bhushan Award in 1949 posthumously. And he has multiple contributions. One of them is in the theory of continental drift. His extensive work on the Gondwana flora. He introduced microscopic analysis in fossil study. He was a pioneer in applying microscopic techniques to study fossilized plants and enhancing the accuracy of the identification and greater insights to ancient plant structure. He was active in establishing Indian scientific societies. He co-founded and participated in several organizations, including the Indian Botanical Society, fostering a collaborative scientific environment and promoting the exchange of research ideas. And he was also an inspirational educator and mentor. Known for his dedication to teaching, he had inspired multiple students who are prominent scientists today, and his emphasis on curiosity and rigorous research has left a lasting impact on the Indian science and education. So that was the end of my presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Any
Thank you, sir.
teacher want to ask any question related to this? Whenever you have the time, please see the Paleobotanical Institute at Lucknow, and you will learn a lot. And also, a number of films are available on uh, Sahni. So these films also you can see. You can get more and more insight about the scientist.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you, Avneet. And it was
Thank you, sir.
very informative. You had done a lot of research making the project. So, thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much for your session. And I thank all the teachers who have participated in this particular program to know about the Birbal Sahni. So, the purpose of such type of program is that our teachers know the scientists in India or the Indian scientist and spread the word to the children when they are teaching or tell the story of the leading scientist of India. So thank you very much, Avneet, and thank
Thank
you
you,
all the
sir.
friends.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much. We'll meet sometime later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.